I'm a 29-year-old guy, and this all started on a Tuesday night around 9:42 p.m. I remember the exact time because I had just finished washing the dishes, and my phone screen lit up with the clock when she leaned into me. We were sitting on my old gray couch, the one with a small tear on the left armrest, watching reruns of The Office. The air smelled faintly of garlic from the pasta I had cooked. Everything was normal until she leaned over, rested her lips near my ear, and whispered those exact words. "You're replaceable, remember that." I froze. At first I thought I misheard her. I laughed nervously and said, "What did you just say?" She smirked, not even looking away from the TV, and replied, "You heard me. Now let me back up a little. My girlfriend's name is Melissa. She's 27, works in marketing at a mid-sized firm downtown, and we'd been together for almost 3 years. We met at a friend's barbecue in St. Louis in 2021. She had these sharp green eyes, an easy laugh, and I fell for her quickly. Our relationship had ups and downs like anyone's, but we lived together, split bills evenly. $1,050 each for rent, utilities divided, groceries we alternated. We even talked about marriage once or twice, so hearing her say something so cold caught me completely off guard. I asked again, "Are you kidding me?" She finally looked at me and said, "No. I'm just saying you should never get too comfortable. There are plenty of guys out there who'd treat me better than you do." I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just sat back and said quietly, "Noted. Thanks for letting me know." That must have surprised her because she rolled her eyes and muttered, "Don't be so dramatic." That night, I lay awake replaying her words in my head. "You're replaceable." My gut told me this wasn't just a random comment. It felt like a warning. The next morning, 7:15 a.m. on the dot, she left for work wearing her navy blue blazer and pencil skirt, coffee in hand, giving me the usual quick kiss on the cheek. But her words still echoed in my head. I decided right then I wasn't going to ignore it. At lunch I confided in my buddy Chris. He's 30, works in IT, and has been my best friend since high school. We were eating burgers at Shake Shack downtown, and I said, "Man, Melissa told me last night that I'm replaceable." He almost choked on his fries. "Dude, what the hell? Who says that?" I shrugged. "Apparently her." Chris leaned in and said, "You need to watch your back. That sounds like someone testing boundaries or already cheating." The word cheating hit me hard, but I brushed it off. Still, I couldn't shake the suspicion. That weekend, I noticed Melissa's behavior shift. She spent more time on her phone, turning the screen away when I walked by. She claimed she had extra meetings at work, coming home around 9 p.m. instead of her usual. One night she said she was out with coworkers, but when I asked who, she snapped, "Why are you interrogating me?" I started quietly observing. On Wednesday I checked our shared car's mileage. We both drove my Honda Civic since her car was in the shop. She said she only went to the office, which is 14 miles each way. But when I checked, the odometer had an extra 63 miles that didn't add up. My heart sank. That night, when she came home, I asked casually, "So how was the office?" She replied, "Same old, meetings all day." I nodded, and said nothing. Inside I felt the first real crack in our relationship. By Friday my suspicion turned into action. I downloaded a phone recording app. Saturday night, when Melissa said she was grabbing drinks with the girls, I slipped it in my pocket and left it on in the kitchen where she always made her calls before heading out. When I listened later, my stomach dropped. The recording caught her whispering on the phone, "Yeah, babe, I'll see you at the Marriott." He has no clue. I told him I'm with Sarah and Jessica. Don't worry, he's replaceable anyway. Replaceable. The same damn word. I sat there in silence, staring at the phone. Every ounce of doubt was gone. She wasn't just being cruel, she was cheating. The next morning, I confronted her. I waited until 10:14 a.m., when she came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, hair dripping. I looked her in the eye and said, "So, how was the marriage?" She froze, water still dripping from her hair onto the hardwood floor. "What?" she stammered. I repeated, calmly, "How was the Marriott?" She turned pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone, hit play and let her own words fill the room. Her face twisted with panic. "You're spying on me now. That's disgusting," she shouted. I kept my voice steady. "You said I'm replaceable. Now I know you meant it. Pack your things." She tried every excuse. "It was just a fling," she cried. It meant nothing. Then anger. You never pay enough attention to me. Finally desperation. Don't throw this away. We can fix it. But I was done. I repeated, pack your things. She left 2 hours later with a duffel bag and tears streaming down her face. I thought that was the end. But it was only the beginning. 3 days later, at exactly 3:14 p.m. on a Wednesday, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a man's voice. Stay away from Melissa. She doesn't need you anymore. Then he hung up. My chest tightened. Now another man was involved. Not just Melissa. Someone else felt bold enough to threaten me. I called Chris right away. You're not gonna believe this, I said. He listened, then told me, you need to protect yourself. Document everything. So I did. I saved the recording. Screenshots of texts, where she said she was working late, but GPS data showed her at hotels. Even bank statements where 143 was spent at a steakhouse I knew I hadn't been to. Melissa tried reaching out too. She sent long texts at midnight, like I made a mistake. Please, we can talk. One message read, don't ruin my career by telling anyone. I'll do anything. That line made me stop cold. Why mention her career unless she knew exposure would destroy her reputation? I realized she wasn't just a cheater. She was manipulative, maybe even dangerous. The following week, I spoke with a lawyer. His name was Daniel Ross, a 42-year-old family attorney in St. Louis. I told him everything, showed him the recordings and texts. He leaned back in his chair, hands folded, and said, you've got solid evidence. If she tries to retaliate, you're protected. Keep everything. And sure enough, retaliation came. One Friday morning at 8:27 a.m., I got a knock at my door. It was the police. Melissa had filed a complaint claiming I stole her laptop and jewelry. Thankfully, I had security camera footage, showing her leaving the apartment with all her belongings. When I played it for the officers, they shook their heads. One of them muttered, looks like she's wasting our time. That was the moment I realized just how low she was willing to go. She didn't just want to cheat, she wanted to destroy me on her way out. But what she didn't know was that I was prepared to fight back, calmly, methodically, and with every piece of evidence I had. After the police left my doorstep shaking their heads, I sat on the couch and realized this wasn't just a breakup anymore. Melissa had crossed into dangerous territory. She was trying to weaponize lies to ruin me. That's when I decided to stop reacting and start acting. I called Chris again. It was around 6:48 p.m. on a Friday. He picked up and said, what now, man? I explained how she tried to accuse me of theft. He whistled low. She's unhinged. You need to stay 3 steps ahead. So that's exactly what I did. The first step was securing my own safety. I changed the locks, canceled her access to our joint streaming accounts, and even spoke with the landlord to take her name off the lease. Legally, since I was the primary tenant, it wasn't hard. By Monday morning at 9:12 a.m., the paperwork was filed. Melissa didn't take it well. At 11:04 that same morning, she showed up at my building, pounding on the door. Through the security cam on my phone, I watched her scream, you can't just erase me, I'll ruin you. I didn't open the door. I just saved the footage. Later that week, things escalated again. I got an email at work from a fake address, claiming I had been emotionally abusive and should be fired. Attached were doctored screenshots of texts supposedly from me. Problem for her was, she wasn't very good at Photoshop. The font sizes didn't match, and the timestamps were impossible, like 27:83 p.m. My HR rep actually laughed when I showed her the real, unaltered threads. Still, I saved everything. That night, I called my lawyer Daniel again. She's trying to smear me now, I told him. He replied calmly, good, let her dig her own hole. The more false claims she makes, the stronger your case becomes if you need a restraining order. And then came the twist I never expected. At 2:27 a.m., on a Saturday, I got a message from an unknown number. It read, I'm sorry, you don't know me, but Melissa has been lying to me too. Can we talk? The name attached was Brian. I hesitated for a moment, then replied, what do you mean? Brian responded, she told me she was single. We've been seeing each other for 4 months. Tonight she admitted she lives with someone else. That someone is you, right? My heart pounded. This wasn't the guy from the Marriott. It was another man entirely. Melissa wasn't just cheating. She was juggling multiple men, feeding each of us different lies. We agreed to meet the next day at a Starbucks on Olive Boulevard at 11:30 a.m. Brian turned out to be a 33-year-old construction manager, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes. He looked like a man who'd been through hell. We sat down and he slid his phone across the table. "Here, read this." It was a text from Melissa. "Don't worry about him. He's replaceable. You're the only one who matters." There it was again. Replaceable. I showed him my recording, the one where she whispered to me and called him babe over the phone. His jaw tightened. So she's been playing both of us. We talked for nearly 2 hours, comparing notes. Turns out, Melissa had told him she worked late nights because she was helping her cousin with a startup. She even borrowed $2,000 from him, promising to pay it back once she got her bonus. He hadn't seen a dime. By the time we left, we were oddly united. Two strangers brought together by the same betrayal. Before leaving, Brian said, "She picked the wrong guys to mess with. Let's hold her accountable." Over the next few weeks, we worked together. I gathered my recordings, screenshots, bank statements. Brian gathered his proof of the $2,000 transfer, along with texts where she threatened to ruin his reputation if he stopped seeing her. Daniel, my lawyer, advised us to file for a restraining order. At 10 on a Thursday, we both sat in the county courthouse, side by side, presenting our evidence to the judge. Melissa walked in, looking polished, black blazer, heels, her hair perfectly straightened, but when the judge asked her about the recordings and the bank transfers, she stammered. "Those were jokes," she muttered. The judge didn't buy it. The temporary restraining order was granted immediately. She was ordered to stay 500 feet away from both of us. But Melissa wasn't done. 3 days later, Brian called me. "You're not gonna believe this. She just tried to show up at my job." Security escorted her out. He sounded both frustrated and relieved. That night, I got another late text from Melissa. "You've destroyed my life. I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Instead, I sent everything, every screenshot, every recording to Daniel. He said, "We'll file for defamation and harassment. Let her face real consequences." Months went by. The legal process was slow, but steady. By July, Melissa had lost her job. Her employer discovered the fake harassment email she had sent to mine, traced back to her IP address. She was terminated immediately. Meanwhile, Brian sued her in small claims court for the two. With all the proof he had, the judge ruled in his favor. She was ordered to pay him back plus court fees. As for me, I focused on rebuilding. I hit the gym more, reconnected with old friends, even picked up guitar lessons again. Slowly, I felt like myself. One evening in late August, Chris and I were having beers on my balcony when he said, "Man, you handled this like a champ. Most guys would have lost it." I shrugged and replied, "She wanted me to break." I refused to give her that satisfaction. The final twist came nearly 6 months later. Out of the blue, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Melissa, handwritten, shaky penmanship. It said, "I lost everything. My job, my apartment, my friends. I thought I could control everything, but I was wrong. You were good to me, and I threw it away. If you ever cared about me, please forgive me." I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and slid it into a drawer. I didn't respond. Forgiveness is one thing, but reconciliation, never. These days, life is calm. I moved into a new place, closer to work, with a big kitchen and sunlight streaming in every morning. I even started dating again, though cautiously. I tell anyone I meet up front, honesty is non-negotiable. Melissa, last I heard, she moved back in with her parents in Illinois. She keeps a low profile now. No job updates, no flashy posts, just silence. Sometimes I think back to that night on the couch, when she leaned in and whispered, "You're replaceable." The irony is, she was the one replaced by peace, by self-respect, by a better life without her chaos. So to anyone reading this who's ever been told they're replaceable, take it as a gift, because it means you get the chance to replace toxicity with something better. Edit. Thanks to everyone who followed this. Chris says I should share one last funny detail. When Melissa tried to pawn off the jewelry she claimed I stole, the pawn shop called the cops because she couldn't prove it was hers. Consequences indeed. P.S. Melissa, if you ever stumble across this story, you were right. I am replaceable, and I replaced you with happiness.